If you've been in sales a while, I mean, at some point in your career, you take a training class around presentation skills, right? And one of the first things they teach is you gotta get the audience's attention right from the beginning. So I'm thinking, what could I say that would get people's attention? And I'm thinking, well, I'm going to Boston. I'm from New York. How about those Yankees? Huh? How about those? I have, yeah. Actually, we've been through a couple tough years, just like Boston. But I think this year, be surprised. I think the Red Sox will be coming back. But I appreciate you taking the time. I know that it's been a long day. I was here last year, went through, maybe 30 minutes of discussion. I tell you what, when I came away from that discussion, I really felt like this was something I want to do again, and that's why I'm here. I think there's a lot of great information that you can gain, and I think, as the gentleman said earlier, there's a lot of things out there that will distract you in the hallway. So, certainly take the time, tell your friends, because I think this is a great conference to leverage as you develop your sales organizations. So a little bit about me. I've been in sales for probably around 25 years, so I know I'm dating myself. But I've worked for a lot of the larger software companies, hardware companies. I was actually a partner at one of the big five firms. So I've seen, across the board, different organizations trying to do different things to get to ultimately what they're trying to accomplish, which is success. And I've learned a few things over those years, and I thought I'd share that with you. Basically, it's a blueprint, right? As the gentlemen were talking about earlier, there's a lot of things that you as a sales leader need to look at to drive a transformation, and absolutely it is a process that never ends. So let me share a couple of my experiences. If you could, just kind of think, and I know I'm reaching here, but I'm really trying to make or draw a parallel between biology and business. So when you interview somebody, you always kind of think about, okay, can this person fit into the sales organization? Do they have a DNA? Do they have the right DNA to fit into what we're trying to accomplish? So, if you remember back in high school, DNA is really a set of instructions. It's a blueprint. It's how you get to the point where this is how you're going to make decisions. This is how you're going to behave. And when you look at the economy the way it is today, maybe versus 10 years ago, you're going to see different behaviors from your sales organization that's dictated by the DNA that they fit into. So what I did was I actually broke it down by 7 steps, kind of what I've done at some companies in the past as it relates to transforming a sales organization. So the first step is diagnose, right? You have to determine where your strengths are and where your weaknesses are. What are the issues and challenges that your organization is facing? Is it you don't have enough pipeline? Is it the fact that you're not getting in front of the key executives in an account? Are you not accurate in your forecasting? So there's a lot of things. Is finance aligned with the sales organization? Is marketing aligned with the sales organization? So you have to kind of write down a list of things that you think are some of your challenges, and then again, some of the things that are working well. What changes are needed to optimize your sales process? So at HP, we've recently put sales, processes, and IT under one leader. So when we look at, determining what technologies to select, it's all coming out of the same organization because we know and understand what the process that we want to use and how we're going to link that to the technology. And then lastly, what would the ideal technology roadmap be? So when you look at, customer relationship management systems, ordering systems, all of those type of systems, how is everything going to get integrated together? How is it going to flow? HP, for example, We have 2,500 salespeople on Salesforce.com today. We're moving to 30,000 people. 30,000 people will be actually on Salesforce. It'll probably, I would assume, the largest implementation of Salesforce.com. Not to even mention the hundred thousands of channel partners that we have that are actually selling our products and services. So, it's critical that we do a very good job in terms of planning and implementing. I think the gentleman that were on the stage before me talked about kind of the leadership role in a transformation. When we look at getting executive sponsorship, even though we spelled executive wrong here, I would tell you that the number one important criteria is to have that leader or leaders drive that messaging throughout the organization. Absolutely critical. I just want to reiterate what was already said. We need to understand where the company's going. You need to paint a vision, and you got to do a really good job in communicating that vision to your salespeople, to your marketing people, to your finance people across all the business units. Obviously, you need a budget. Transformation just doesn't come free. You need to identify what are the key budget items that you need as you go through the transformation. Is it hiring more salespeople? Is it driving more on the marketing side? All of that needs to be taken into consideration. And then, once you get that messaging out, you need your individual sales managers to really drive that messaging with their sales teams day in and day out. It absolutely needs to be day in and day out consistently. Culture. So I think culture is an overused term, but when we look at what culture is, it's the environment that your sales organization's working in. So, I've worked for sales organizations that I would call high-velocity sales organizations. They take no prisoners. I've worked for organizations that kind of take a step back, evaluate, more of a consultative, I would say, approach to for any sales campaign that they're going after. It really, if it's a family-owned business, there's a specific culture for that organization. If it's a organization that's went out and actually acquired companies, you're going to most likely have multiple cultures going on, and that's a challenge because now you got to determine, what is the environment you really want your organization to work in. So, culture. You have to kind of think about it as you're planning out your transformation. What kind of culture do you really want to see? Where are you today and where are you going? Eliminating department silos. This is a big challenge. I mean, especially as, if you work for a big company like I do, HP is a $120 billion company. We sell printer cartridges, which, by the way, you make a lot of money on, to, software, to services, to storage, servers, networking products. So we sell a lot of stuff. So you have multiple silos, all with their own separate P&Ls, selling their products and technologies. And then we have finance, then we have marketing. All of those organizations have specific missions in mind, and they need to determine how best to proceed with their organizations to be successful. So we have to be all speaking from the same page. So that's why I was saying earlier, executive sponsorship, especially somebody that is not just over sales, but over marketing, finance, and sales. So when you look at eliminating department silos, you need to determine what is the overall messaging that you want to share with your organization and to really execute on. Absolutely critical. If you're a small, medium-sized business, still comes into play because, at the end of the day, there's selling and then there's keeping the customer satisfied, right? And that's the whole servicing of the customer base. You need to understand what is the messaging that you want to provide your sales teams and your services teams and your partners to determine success. When we shift, and this is item number 5, what I'm talking about here is shifting from really a strategic competency to an operational competency. So when we look at what specifically are we talking about here, we're talking about, conceptually, where are we going and what are the systems that we're going to need to implement to get there. So as the first line said, while many companies believe that operational efficiencies come from supporting legacy systems, smart companies are redesigning. So, HP, and I'm going back to the company I work for today, we've been around a long time. We have a lot of legacy systems in place. It's taken a long time in some areas to move from a legacy system to a new system with new technology, more of a SaaS-oriented culture around these systems. I think, CRM is one of our key areas that we're focusing on. I sell to a lot of companies that are implementing ERP systems that are, struggling because, they've had these legacy systems in place. Unstructured data is a very challenging area that a lot of companies are facing, and you really need to do a lot of planning. You need to make sure that you have the budget for it, and it's critical. I mean, it's critical because it's one thing to have the idea, but to execute is the second and most important piece. Number 6, harness the collective intelligence of the sales organization. So if you are the leader of the organization, you need to make sure that not only are you painting a picture and painting the vision for your organization, but you're getting feedback from all of your sales organization and all from your finance and all from your marketing, because if they don't feel like it's their plan, they're not going to want to execute. What I've done in a number of companies is I've created committees that actually are led by salespeople, and they share best practices amongst each other, and they provide information through their discussions up to management and then up to executive management, so that everybody understands that they're part of this. They're part of the plan. They're part of the blueprint. I've seen a lot of success in this area, primarily because of people feeling like they're part of the plan. Select and deploy the best technology. So when we look at walking through that hallway, looking at all of those technologies, I think it's important to understand where you are and where you're going and what is the process by which you want to get there. So what we've done is we've hired an executive at HP that owns both process and technology. They've been a CIO before. They've done management consulting before, so they have the experience. They have a team of thousands of people in the company I work for that actually are just focused every day on developing the linkage between process and the technology. Absolutely critical. So in summary, here are the list of items that I wanted to share with you. That's over a span of 25 years of me kind of being out in the marketplace, trying to sell, and really seeing a lot of the challenges that a lot of companies face. At HP, as I said, we're a big company. We're going from 2,500 users to 30,000 users on Salesforce. A couple other things that we've done with our technologies is a product called ePrint, if you're familiar with it. It was actually developed by HP. We can print anywhere and to anywhere. So we've seen a lot of return on investment there as it relates to that technology. What we also found was that there was a lot of contracts and agreements that are going back and forth with customers, between different organizations, with partners. And what we found was there was a lot of paper. So what we did was we had DocuSign, which is another product that we use, which allows us to have electronic signatures on all that and make sure that we can store those agreements in a file somewhere. So that's another area that we've really done a lot of work on, is just trying to alleviate and eliminate paperwork. We've also put and implemented a lot of security into our systems. as it relates to our supply chain is absolutely critical to ensure that when we sell something, we get customers the product, within a reasonable amount of time. One of the things that you'll find is that in a selling transformation, you're going to run into hiccups. You need to not only sell through the cycle and getting that purchase order, but we have systems that are actually allowing us to identify any customer satisfaction issues as we move forward based on either not getting product or quality of product. And again, that's another area you really want to focus on, because doing upselling into your accounts is going to get you to the next phase of the relationship. Going from vendors to strategic partner is absolutely key. The other thing that I'd mention is information management. One of the things that I've seen over the last few years that I've been at HP is we've really done a really great job in developing more intelligence about our customer base, getting information around our customers, understanding who to call on, what's their real issues, what's their budget cycles look like, all that kind of stuff. And it's important that we have that information in a place that we can get to it. So absolutely critical. I think when you look at some of the smaller companies, just as critical, because you're trying to grow a business. You're trying to grow a business to the point where you can create references and drive those references so that you can actually sell more to new customers. One of the things that I do in terms of measuring my folks is not only on pipeline or on revenue or quota attainment, but how many new logos have they actually created? How many new customers have they actually closed on, so that we can actually establish not only market growth, but also get into new vertical markets. If you just sold to a new pharmaceutical company, I can leverage that into other pharmaceutical companies, and it's something that is absolutely critical. Measure your people on those kind of things, because that's how you grow and transform an organization. The other thing that I'd mention too is, we recently laid off a number of people. It's a tough market today, but we're bringing in new salespeople based on their experience around selling a particular product. We're big into selling unstructured data products now today with autonomy, if you've heard about that product before. But it doesn't really matter what it is. Whatever it is that you're trying to sell, whatever widget you're trying to sell, it's important to get that experience somewhere that you can bring into the organization and have those individuals teach the rest of the organization on how to do it and to understand the technology. You can't just sell based on relationships. Relationships are absolutely critical, but you need to understand the technology. We were talking, the gentlemen that were up here before talking about sales training. Sales training is great if you do role playing. In my opinion, if you get people up and articulate not only what they're trying to sell, but understand the technology. Technology there's a lot of people out there that know products, and if you can get them to get in front of a customer and share their experiences, that really, really helps, and it goes a long way in terms of value for the customer. Customer's looking for value. They're not looking for somebody to shake their hand and take them out to lunch. Believe me, that's something that I do, but I want to make sure that the people that are in front of the customer are selling value and they understand how the technology is actually helping them solve a business problem. So you want to do that. So when I talk about new hires need to be held accountable as well. When you think about the fact that the biggest investment and the largest expense in your organization is going to be in people, you need to make sure that you do it right the first time. You want to make sure you go through a diligent interview process. You want to make sure that those people are the right person or people to bring into the organization. You do sometimes get the wrong guy or gal, and you need to make that decision pretty quickly. But at the end of the day, you need to hold these people accountable that are brought into the organization. First 3 months, I have people already looking at, what their specific KPIs are, what are their metrics that we expect from them, within the 90-day time frame. It's critical. It's critical that you get that investment working sooner than later. Your timeline of return on any new hire needs to happen at least at a break-even point within that first year of employment. If you go beyond that 12-month period, you probably didn't hire that right person. So, absolutely critical to make sure those people understand, the company, understand the mission, understand the vision, understand your products, and get those folks, on board as quickly as possible so they can actually sell. The other thing that I would say is productivity is probably the most overused term that I've seen over the last few years around selling, primarily because productivity is very difficult to kind of measure. Everybody kind of measures it differently, but no matter how you measure it, I think it all comes back to the investment that you've made in an individual to sell in your organization. How long does it take to get a return on that investment? There is a break-even point, so you want to make sure that you get to that break-even point as quickly as possible. I think, some of the things that I would share with you around productivity is that you want to make sure that you have clear and you can articulate those areas that you want your salespeople to be successful in. It could be quota, it could be pipeline, could be forecast accuracy, it could be all of the above. No matter how you define it, just make sure it's clear and that everybody in the organization understands it. Maybe a new hire has to sell, 10 widgets, and somebody that's been around longer needs to sell, 20 widgets. Whatever it is, you need to define that. And it depends on, obviously, a lot of things. It could be, the territory that individual's being brought in on. Maybe it's a brand new territory that needs to be worked, and you want to make sure that, you have some success in that area. So maybe it's how many new logos you establish in that area. But no matter how you define it, you need to stick with it. I think when you look at productivity as it relates to kind of mediocre metrics, you're not going to get that return that you were hoping for when you hired that person. So absolutely important to establish those metrics right up front and make sure that the salespeople understand what it is. So that's really what I wanted to talk about. I think if anybody has any questions around kind of what I'm doing at HP, or you just want to kind of pick my brain, I'm happy to answer any questions. It's been a real pleasure working with Gerhard on the sales operational portal that is going to be worked. I've been doing a lot of work with HP in terms of what technologies we should be selecting to help get us to where we're trying to get to. But at the end of the day, it all comes back to everybody that's sitting in this room sharing best practices and making sure that some of the challenges we all face in selling, we don't hit the same obstacles and challenges that you guys face. So thank you for your time and appreciate it. Thank you.